Hey y'all, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, we do have two Derby preps on this Saturday and this weekend coming up. One being the Louisiana Derby at the Fairgrounds, and the other is the Jeff Ruby Stakes, a Grade 3 12th race on the Saturday card at Turfway, running a mile and an eighth on the all-weather for 3-year-olds. And while this isn't dirt, we should remember that this race has produced some pretty good Derby contenders, most notably Rich Strike 3 years ago, who won at 81 to 1 that I had, and Two Phils, who finished second in the Derby in 2023, who came out of the Jeff Ruby Stakes. There's, it's a really tough surface to run on, so horses who come off of it are rock fit. We had Chunk of Gold and the Risen Star, who made the transition from all weather to dirt, 43 to 1. It's a really potent angle, and we should always remember that when we consider horses moving from Turfway on to conventional dirt. But let's talk about Turfway right now, and we'll take a look at this field. You got a full field of 12. California Burrito, who most recently won the John Battaglia. Baby Max, who's been a solid contender at Turfway on their Derby prep circuit. Final Gambit for Brad Cox, most recent maiden winner at Turfway. Maximum Promise for Kenny McPeak, who got third in the Battaglia. A very interesting transferee from Dirt, Innovator for the coach, D. Wayne Lucas. And this one has never run on synthetic, and I think he's going to have a lot of say as to how this race progresses. You got California Burrito, mentioned him. Charlie's to Blame coming over, who has been recently was pretty effective on turf. And Calling Card, the Enigma, I'm not sure what to do with him, but and he's not joking, coming down from Woodbine, who shouldn't be underestimated here at all. So that's the field. Let's take a look at it. And the first thing is you have to note, now I should preface anything I'm going to say is Turfway is a funky track, and those of us who play it regularly know this. So I would highly encourage anybody who wants to play the Jeff Ruby Stakes to watch how the track is playing for the first few races. Because it sometimes it will play to early speed, sometimes it won't. Now, when they deal with snow or moisture or whatnot, it tends to play a little more to the early speed. Otherwise, it plays for later runners. But really important to get a feel early on for how the track plays, and that will govern what you do in this race. The reason I think that's really important is the presence of Innovator. Now, Innovator has been a pretty good horse, and I've been kind of on him ever since Saratoga. But the thing about Innovator is he needs the lead. And if he doesn't get the lead, that's pretty much it. If you look at his running lines, that's pretty much the way it's gone. If he doesn't have the lead, you're just not going to get a really good race out of him. Now, moving to synthetic, it very well, like I said, the track is fickle, so it may play to early speed. And if it does, then Innovator may be a pretty good horse to think about. But if it doesn't, then he not only takes himself out, but likely Charlie's to Blame and California Burrito as well, because Charlie's to Blame has won a couple on turf at the fairgrounds, but I did notice he's very one-paced, and if he probably has to quicken it up a little bit early, I think that's probably going to sap him late. So just the presence of Innovator alone, regardless of how the track's playing, I think really discounts Charlie's to Blame's potential to do well here. Same thing with California Burrito. He has been... he's had a couple of, he's won on the front end at Turfway, but he's been doing so with pretty soft fractions. Ain't going to get it with Innovator in the race. I can't see that. So to me, just the presence of Innovator really has a major influence on the race shape more than anything else. And I think compromises a lot of horses who want to run up and near the lead for that reason. Now, the horses that can lay off of it a little bit, like Flying Mohawk or Baby Max, even Maximum Promise, he's not joking. I think they're ones that you have to consider more seriously. Now, Flying Mohawk is kind of new to synthetic, so we're really basing it upon his turf form. But what I liked about him is uh, he broke his maiden on the front end on turf, and then his next start, he took all the way back to the rear and was able to get it in gear. And I liked what I saw from the closing kick. And as we know, horses that can run on turf usually can do pretty well on synthetic. So, as kind of a sleeper in this field, where I think later runners, um, judging by the pace scenario that we're likely going to have, later runners are what you're going to want. I don't know if EP is necessarily the most accurate designation for Flying Mohawk because he's proven he can go on the lead. He can also rate towards the back. But I think he's one that you kind of want to think about in these type of races where there's a lot of early speed. It tends to be a scramble on the stretch. So you like to see those overlays, and I think Flying Mohawk might very well be one. Baby Max has been a really solid performer at Turfway, and I don't see any difference. I think he'll be fine regardless of what happens pace-wise. Last time he was up challenging California Burrito, I have noticed that that he's another one that probably appreciates a little softer pace, and that that he doesn't do quite as well when it gets a little quicker. But he's too solid to ignore, and I think he's in a good spot here. So Baby Max is one I think he'd certainly use. Maximum Promise to me is, whenever you throw Kenny McPeak into the mix, it brings back a lot of perceptions or a lot of thoughts because, God, they're so inconsistent. And Maximum Promise was won his maiden overwhelmingly on dirt, and then just didn't really follow it up. And they put him on synthetic in the Battaglia, and he ran what I would consider to be a pretty good third. But the thing about it that bothered me was he was way at the back. He made his move very late, and he closed very late. And it was kind of one of those also ran thirds where you might say, well, if he can get a little closer next time, maybe he'll be a factor. Well, ain't going to happen, not in my opinion. He's one to consider, but I just think he's one more for underneath. I don't know if he has that acceleration that you're going to need to take down a graded stakes. That's just the way I see it. But one to consider for underneath, sure. But he's definitely going to have to be more forwardly placed to have a shot here. And, maybe they will. But we'll see what the price looks like and see what the track does. But Maximum Promise to me, I think he strikes me as a bit of an underlay here. And I like others better. In particular, He's Not Joking, who's my pick to win this race. Now, this horse, they moved to the dirt for the last couple, and it hasn't worked out. He's not a dirt horse. But go back to that Woodbine form and look at the Gray Stakes, a grade 3. He blew that field away. And he just, he came from the clouds, and he had great acceleration. He clearly likes synthetic. Now, I'll tell you right off the bat, my friend Sean Nolan, the spin doctor himself, is going to say right off the bat when I say this, that the Woodbine synthetic is not the same as Turfway. He's absolutely correct. However, I think it's a good harbinger that they move this one back to synthetic. They clearly have Derby aspirations because they did put him in a couple of preps on dirt. Didn't work out. Back to a surface that's more preferable. I think He's Not Joking makes a lot of sense here. Now, Josie Carroll's, I think, 36% moving horses from dirt to all weather, so it's a great angle that she uses. Josie Carroll, a very nice trainer, knows what she's doing. 12 hole doesn't really bother me, not a Turfway. We've seen too many times that horses, when you don't think they can win from the outside, they do. Horses you don't think will win from the inside, they do. It's one of those type of tracks. You got to watch the first few races to get a feel for how the track's playing. That's imperative when you play Turfway. But for me, He's Not Joking is one that I think if he runs back to his form from the Gray Stakes, which I think is entirely possible, he's extremely dangerous here, and hopefully we'll get a decent price. Giocoso is a horse I really liked it too. He showed me a lot. I loved him in the Kentucky Jockey Club, and he ran third at big odds, and I thought he was going to take over the race, and he just sort of flattened out, and that's kind of where he stopped. It doesn't seem like he's moving forward. I think he'll be better on synthetic than he is on dirt because because he's got good turf back class, and he's probably more of a turf horse, but I just don't know that he's necessarily progressing, and that's really what bothers me about him. And I'm going to pass on him for that reason. Now, Poster, certainly, he won the Remsen, and this horse has been was pretty good at 2, more so on turf. Came out in that Sam F. Davis, and it took him a while to get it going, and finished I guess it was a decent third. He was no match for the top 2 for John Hancock or Owen Almighty. But I think this might be a more agreeable surface given his prior efforts on turf and his late running style because, again, I think with the presence of Innovator, you're going to get some lively pace, and I think this is a good spot for Poster. I'm not a horse I'm really overly thrilled with. I really haven't been that big on him, but I think certainly moving to synthetic elevates his odds, and I think he's one you have to consider. Calling card, I can't figure out what to do with. I'll be very honest. They've scratched him out of the Battaglia. They've scratched him. I think he was going to run the Risen Star, and they scratched him there too. Now you're moving him back after a mediocre effort in the Gotham. You figured, well, if they scratch him out of the Battaglia to run in the Gotham, maybe that's a better spot for him. Didn't make a difference. He's going to have to show me. I loved him after that maiden win. I was very excited, and he just hasn't followed it up with anything of note. And maybe the surface switch is going to help him. Mike Maker, a great trainer. He's been doing very well at Turfway, but I just think there's a lot of bad signals with calling card, and he's gonna beat me because I'm just not going to use him. Now, Final Gambit for Brad Cox is kind of interesting. His maiden win, it was impressive, and it also bothered me because he came way from the clouds. He was way, way, way back, all the way at the back, and it seemed like they were never going to engage him to get him going. And once he finally did, he demonstrated a really nice kick to come and win his maiden. But there's the rub as well. The horses who come from way out of it, even with a crisp pace, maybe they're more likely for underneath than they are to win it because it's just gonna need a lot. So Final Gambit, and I'm not, I don't know how much he beat, to be honest, and I don't see that progression that gets me real excited about him. And when you couple that with the fact that Brad Cox has been, his 3-year-olds just haven't been that hot this year. I'll use Final Gambit for underneath, but that's the extent of it. And he's probably going to be an underlay at too short a price. So I think you can use him comfortably underneath. Carino just hasn't shown enough of me. He's had a lot of bites at the apple to get better, and his trainer is at 55% moving from dirt to all weather, so that's certainly a potent angle, but I just haven't seen enough from Carino to tell me that I want to get really excited about the surface switch, and that's really that when it comes down to it, that's what it is there. So I just think it's wishful thinking with him. Could be proven wrong, but just I don't see it on paper. So we go to a wagering strategy. We're going to go with he's not joking. I think he's the best bet here, going back to a surface that's more preferable to him. We're going to do exactas with him and Poster. Poster, I think, is the next logical alternative. So we'll go 12-9, and then we'll go 9-12. And then we'll do a saver exacta with he's not joking on top with 5, 6, and 10. Trifecta, we're going to go 12, 9, 4, 5, 6, 10, 9, 12, 4, 5, 6, 10, and then 9, 12 with 4, 5, 6, 10 with 9, 12. Keep it real simple. To me, this is, you know, if he's not joking does pull this off, I don't think it's going to get me any more excited about him as a Derby prospect than I was prior to this race. But I think he's the best candidate to win the race. I think he's going to have a lot of things going his way, and he's back on a surface that he obviously loves. So if he takes the Turfway's synthetic, I think he's not joking is the horse to beat. Hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy, and I wish you the best of luck as always. And certainly, if you do like content like this, please like and subscribe. And thanks to all of you who have come on board. We have crossed the 2,000 subscribers border, and I want to thank you all for making that possible, especially those who have been with us from the early on inception of Right at the Wire. And great to have all of you. Love the fact this community continues to grow. And great to have all of you for the remainder of the Derby Trail as well as onward. So again, thank you for that. We will have a posting for the Fairgrounds Oaks and likely a sequence posting for the late pick 5 for the Fairgrounds as well. If we can fit it in, if we have time, we will do the full card with selections, best bets, value plays as we did at Colonial Downs, and hopefully we'll be as successful but a little tougher, a little taller order at the Fairgrounds, as I'm sure most of you would agree. So anyway, that's it from here. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.